Every morning, the countdown begins for the markets with meticulous research and analysis designed to help you capitalize on the trading day. Beaming live from the CNBC TV 18 Motilal Oswal studio.
Good morning. You're with us here on a fresh new edition of Bazaar Morning Call. Thursday morning, we are coming to you live from the CNBC TV 18 Motilal Oswal studios. I'm Prashant. With me, my colleague Surabhi and Nigel. Guys, good morning.
Good morning, Prashant. Good morning, Nigel. I just feel that Brazil is the latest missile that's been fired. Yeah. And the thing that really caught my eye was, so far it was all about trade deficits. Country A is running a very high deficit with us, or B. But this was suddenly about internal politics. Yeah. I think he used the word punishment. It's a punishment for, I think, the previous president and, whatever's happening there. So, never a dull moment. Let's see.
Well, that's right. And today is Guru Purnima as well. So wishing all our viewers as well a happy Guru Purnima. And let's hope for a good day. Absolutely.
And markets have quietened down, as I think we were highlighting right at the beginning of the week, actually. And I think it's played out like that. Let's just take it from the top, right? And Brazil is top of mind, absolutely top of mind. So Trump has basically announced 50% tariffs on Brazil exports from Brazil into the US. This is opposed to a 10% rate which was set on Liberation Day. Now, if you go through the letter, which has been sort of sent across to Brazil, it talks about internal politics and a couple of other things as well. But I think what needs to be remembered is that Brazil is the B in BRICS, BRICS. There is Brazil, India, China, Russia, South Africa now, of course, as well, right? I mean, originally it was just BRIC, now it's BRICS, with South Africa added. Remember, Trump has been railing and ranting about the BRICS grouping, at least for the last 48, 76 hours. He threatened, just on Sunday, he threatened an additional 10% tariff on BRICS countries. I mean, for just being part of BRICS, not about doing anything. But if you are one of the countries in BRICS, you will get a 10% tariff, which will be imposed, additional to whatever your tariff rate is, right? And yesterday we got that number was not additional 10%, it was total of 50%, far higher than what we thought. Now, if you look at Brazil and what it sort of sends into the US, it's about 2%, less than 2% of US imports. So, the worry is, or the fear is, or the anxiety is that actually, the real reason why Brazil has got this tariff, this very high 50% tariff, is essentially the fact that it is part of this BRICS grouping. And if you remember, we played out that soundbite yesterday as well. President Trump essentially saying that if you want to undermine the US dollar, there is a price to be paid for that. So I think this is what the bigger question is. Is the BRICS bloc really in Trump's line of fire? I spoke with Jim O'Neill. He's the man who coined the acronym BRICS yesterday. And he essentially said that actually, if anything, all this mention of BRICS by President Trump is elevating the grouping to a status it does not deserve. There is no chance of a common currency or anything of that sort, but it does not matter. I mean, it is essentially what President Trump perceives. So in that line, I mean, just a thought, will the other countries, I mean, the I and the C and will we see some pressure in terms of especially currencies, forex, as we start today? So keep an eye out on, the yuan, maybe to a little lesser degree, the rupee as well. Because, here in India, we, of course, have been trying to negotiate a deal, which seems to be elongated now. It's not happening. It's not happening quickly. We're not first in the line in that sense, but it's taking time. Now, the Wall Street action yesterday was actually quiet. It was a very well-behaved day, but it was higher, 0.6 on the S&P. The Dow was up 0.5. The Nasdaq was up about 0.95% as well. So pretty good. Actually, the large super tech stocks is what took the markets higher. And of course, some of the really sold down, heavily shorted names also participated. VIX, by the way, the CBOE VIX is now in the 15 handle. FOMC minutes were largely a non-event. Fed pricing is unchanged, and I think that's the indication straight up which tells you what the minutes really did or did not do. And there was another thing, right? Out of the Middle East, oil prices still about 70, so not very much change. But President Trump said that the negotiations are very close to a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. And I think there was another official who said that perhaps we'll see something coming through. We'd like to see something announced by this weekend by Saturday or something. So I think it's close by if they're able to do this. the levels don't change. Yesterday, we had a down day on the Nifty Bank, etc. But it was nothing spectacular. I mean, none of the supports we've been putting out for 2 days, these numbers, these levels now, they're not really changed. Those were not hit. So 25,331 is the support, 25,669 is the resistance. We're still in that range for the Nifty Bank as well. The resistance is 57,628. The support stands at 56,838. So that's basically the the levels as we look at them at this point in time. GIFT Nifty will give you a sense of how we are starting. That's almost unchanged. I mean, 2 points lower on the GIFT Nifty. Surabhi.
It's become a bit of a habit for the market, right? Though it did move yesterday, but it moved on the lower side, the index, managing to still be in a very tight range. Actually, most Asian markets are more up than down this morning. The one that's clearly lower is Japan. But the other markets like mainland China, Hong Kong, you're seeing some flashes of green here and there. Singapore is also up about 0.25%. So it's not too bad across Asia. Obviously, markets are digesting all these tariff missiles that are coming in. Remember, Moldova, Brunei, there were a lot of other smaller countries where those tariff letters went out last evening. The big headline, obviously, was Brazil. On FOMC minutes, the minutes did move the US Treasury market because yields fell. On hopes that more rate cuts are coming sooner rather than later. The 10-year yield was down about 8 basis points. The 30-year yield was down almost 7 basis points as well. And the 10-year now is below the 3.4% handle. In fact, I was looking at it just right, 4.3%, sorry, beg your pardon. So from 4.4, we're now looking at levels of 4.33. That's the change that's happened. So what did the FOMC minutes say? I just want to pull up the quote there, exact quote from the minutes. Most participants assess that some reduction in the target range for federal funds rate this year would likely be appropriate. So it just gave the market reason to believe that rate cuts are indeed coming sooner rather than later, perhaps. Nvidia, of course, the other big headline, touching $4 trillion in market capitalization. The Nvidia juggernaut continues. And the Nasdaq itself closed at fresh all-time highs yesterday. So tech was a good space. This morning, South Korea's central bank has left interest rates unchanged. The economy was in contraction in the first calendar quarter of this year. The rates are at a near 3-year low at about 2.5%. Now, we're watching out for the trade framework. Of course, the India-US trade deal and what happens there, and the US-EU trade deal. There's still some sense that something could get done by the end of this week. By the way, Bitcoin was in strong demand yesterday. That was another headline. It's now almost touching, $112,000. Came in at a record high yesterday as well. For us, consolidation has been the name of the game. Absolutely directionless for the market. Let's look at the fund flows picture. FIIs were mild buyers, very small buyers, just about 77 crores. Domestic institutions bought cash stocks, but less than 1,000 crores yesterday. In terms of what to watch today, I'll definitely watch out for financials. NBFCs first, because of the commentary that's coming from the finance minister. She met with a lot of NBFCs yesterday, and she said that they're systemically significant entities. They're no longer just shadow banks. And more importantly, the commentary was interesting with respect to, how NBFCs should be conducting their business in a fair and transparent manner. Also urging NBFCs to pass on the benefits of the lower cost of funds because of what the RBI has been doing. RBI has been cutting rates. So she says, I hope that NBFCs will be passing on the benefits. And then she said the push for growth should not come at the expense of customer well-being. So saying charges should be transparent, interest rates should be, reasonable, quote unquote. So watch out for the NBFC space. And finally, this is our own CNBC TV18 exclusive. Watch for PSU banks as well, because sources are indicating that via the QIP route, OFS and QIP, PSU banks could be raising almost 45,000 crores from the equity markets this year. And Bank of Maharashtra could be meeting the minimum public shareholding norms via a QIP. So there's some buzz around, perhaps some more PSU bank paper coming into the market. So financials on the radar for sure. Nigel?
Well, 3 top cues that I'm looking at. One is Trump and his continued letters that he's sending out, and he's maybe coming to the negotiation table, maybe not as well. So we'll keep an eye out on Trump's tariffs. The other one is Q1 earnings, which kickstart today, but TCS reporting its numbers, so that's going to be an important cue. And the third factor, which is for the day itself, is the Nifty weekly expiry that will play out. Well, yesterday we ended a little bit lower, but it's not a cause of worry. I'll tell you why, because in fact the VIX as well continues to cool off. With the kind of cues that you had, you expect the VIX to move up, but that in fact is hitting the lowest we've seen the last few months. So that's why I say that though we ended lower, we're still in the bit of a range, and I wouldn't be very, very worried. And you wanted some shots in the system? Well, your wishes come true because the shorts in the system got added yesterday by the FIs by close on 4,500 contracts. They remain net short with close on 72% of their positions on the short side. But if I look at both the participants, that's the FIs as well as the clients, and the data point comes up for you on the screen, both of them wrote more calls than puts. And that's telling you that the call writing is becoming a little bit too easy. And this is, mind you, there'll be some kind of hedging as well out here. But keep in mind, when there is a lot of call writing, there are shorts in the system as well. You need some kind of positive trigger that'll push the markets higher as well, which could be actually a positive to see shorts getting into the system. Two strikes that were active, the 25,700 call, well, that was fairly active. But on the downside, the 25,400 put, well, that was active in yesterday's trading session. So just looking at the recent trading action, it brings us to the range that we're looking at with regard to the options data as well. So since that 25,400 put did see a fair bit of addition, there's a premium of around 40 rupees. In terms of a support, I'm looking at this 25,360 as well as this 25,420. That's the range I'm looking at. 25,420 because the last couple of days we've gone to those levels and we have bounced off that mark. And on the upside, 25,550 is the level that I'm looking at the upside. Why is this level? Let's pull up the next plate. The last 2 days, the highs as well as the lows are almost identical. So that should be the broad range you're looking at. The 25,550 on the upside, on the downside, 25,360 or thereabouts. That could be the range for the day. Well, in terms of stocks that I'm looking at, Reliance Industries. The stock did pull back yesterday in the final hour of trade. But remember, if the market needs to move up from here, this one will need to lead the way. And it continues to hold above that 20 DMA, which comes in at around 1,480. So Reliance Industries, this one, if it can protect that 20 DMA, I'm expecting this one to continue to lead the way from here on. It's been the outperformer for the last 6 months, and that could do the heavy lifting. The other stock that I'm looking at, from the broader markets, you want to buy into stocks that are seeing good amount of delivery-based buying, price action as well. And India Shelter, we had some fund-based buying the previous trading session. Yesterday as well, delivery was fairly high, and the stock made a fresh 52-week high. The stock's already had a good run, but I think this one, in fact, it's looking quite interesting, going by the price action, going by the kind of volumes that we've seen. So I'll keep an eye out on this one for the next few months as well.
Okay, absolutely. And thanks for mentioning TCS as well, because that's the big event. I mean, earnings season is officially kicking off. And by the way, TCS is expected to report a decline in constant currency revenue, 1.4% decline. So may not be the hottest of quarters, but we'll see. Let's then take it off with the equity call of the morning. Vikas Jain of CLSA expects first quarter FY26 pre-exceptional profit before tax for the India coverage universe, excluding state-owned oil and gas, to be up a meager 3% year-on-year. But a huge jump in profits of state-owned oil and gas names could push up the headline growth to 10% year-on-year. He says telecom, cement, capital goods and private oil and gas are the other areas that could report strong year-on-year improvement in earnings. However, he adds most large sectors will likely see weak quarter, with autos, financials and metals poised to register declines of 2 to 15% growth, while he expects growth for pharma, IT, property and staples to be subdued in high single digits. He says Nifty has been downgraded by 3%, both for FY26 and FY27 in the past 3 months.